Okay. The first thing that we have everyone do is say your name and where you are from.
Okay, my name is Loula Moschonas. Actually, Lula is my nickname. It's Haralambia Moschonas, and I'm originally from Tucson, Arizona, and I now live in Los Angeles, California.
Okay. Is that a family name?
It is. It's a family name from the Greek island of Kefalonia, which is in between Italy and Greece, and it's right next to the little island of Ithaca. So they like to say that it's the land of Ulysses or Odysseus.
Oh, great. Well, I wanted to ask you about that island and your family being from there, and what generation are you from Greek?
I would say I'm first generation Greek. So my parents were both born in Greece, on the little island of Kefalonia, from the same village in the same neighborhood. And so they were only 5 days apart in age. And my understanding is they were high school sweethearts, and they passed notes to each other in the one set of books the village had.
What's the name of the village?
Havdata, Kefalonia, in the suburb of Lixouri,
Okay,
which is a city on the island.
and there was an earthquake there, right? Or more than one earthquake?
There's been lots of earthquakes, and as recently as last year. So, but we still have relatives that live there. My mom's sister and brother-in-law live there, and all of my parents' first cousins are still there, and they're long-lived.
Wow.
They're in their 80s and 90s and still going strong.
And do you go back and visit?
We do. We go back about every other year, if we can.
That's great.
Mm-hmm.
So, tell me about how we're just going to launch right into FDF.
All right.
With your first year there, and I understand your dad drove one of the vans to.
He did. My dad was a Greek Orthodox priest in Tucson. It was his second community. He loved the youth program. The father who was the youth director at the time had called and told him that Peter was doing this Greek folk dance festival and that he'd love to have us come out. And so my dad got a couple of ladies at the church who were musically inclined and actually theatrically inclined and Greek folk dancers themselves to create a folk dance group. And they made costumes, and our costumes were funny. I would say we were the multi-piece costume people, because we had a different costume for every dance. And we came out, and he drove, there were 2 vans for us, and we came out to San Diego. And the banquet dinner was at the spaghetti factory. It was lovely. And there were only 3 teams in our division. We were the junior division, and we got second place, and we were so happy.
Of course.
It was a silver medal, and it was heavy, and it was presented to us, and it was a lot of fun. And there were, I believe, 9 teams that year.
That's fun.
So technically, I think it was the second FDF.
And how old were you?
I was 9 years old.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry. I can't count. I was born in 65, so 78, so 12.
12 years.
12 years old.
And your tell me again about your costumes. Did you tell me before they were stenciled or painted or something?
Oh, that was when I went to St. Sophia. I also started the dance program there with Ava Angels, and so we were looking at the costume book, and it was a lot of crochet at the bottom in this beautiful red and white checkered lace. And so we didn't have time to make lace, and so we went and got lace from the downtown LA mart, and then we stenciled and sprayed in the red paint over the white lace, and that's how we mimicked that costume. It was fun.
Of course.
But in 1978, the costumes were simple little vests with little aprons and little kerchiefs in different colors to signify the different islands, and it was nice.
It sounds like fun.
It was.
What was it like actually those early years? And then did you go every year after that, or?
We did. I think we only missed like 1 year. in San Jose in 1984. But we went.
What was the experience like in the early years of FDF?
Intimate. All of the kids from the different age ranges, I would say the teenagers, everyone would communicate and socialize with each other. It just seemed like everyone had a really good time. And we all loved to dance outside of the competition. So the organizers of the event really had the pulse on that. And so there were Glendies all the time. And then as we got more sophisticated and as people learned how to play the different instruments, or we brought musicians over from Greece, we would end up having these Glendies or hours of dancing in the hallways of the hotel or in the lobby of the hotel, and then we would get all of the people at the hotel watching us and involved in the dancing, and it was a lot of fun.
Hours?
After hours, yes.
Oh, how fun.
So it was fun.
And you were on the management team as well, right?
I was on the management team a few times, but I was on the board of trustees. I was a dance director representative to start out with, and then I was elected secretary and treasurer, and I kept that position for a while.
And what was that like? How did you know what you were doing is always my question about that being. You were a teenager, I'm guessing?
I was a teenager when I started, and then well into my 20s when it took over the finances. And it was a learning experience. Peter was always a guiding hand, and Lisa and Don and Ellie, great mentors, and everything was done as an organization, as a group. Lots of good communication. I think the focus was on kids and building them up so that they could take on leadership positions in the future. And that's just an excellent concept. And that was Peter's concept. And at the time, the Metropolitan loved it, Metropolitan Anthony. He couldn't get enough of it. He was all about the kids and the youth of the diocese, and actually fulfilling, orthodoxy, promoting it so that we would have the next generation of Greek Orthodox, so that they wouldn't leave the church. And he did that with the carrot of folk dancing and culture. Mm-hmm. And I think up until last year, you've seen like 6 or 7 generations worth of, kids that have come.
How do you think, or from your observation, what did Peter and other people do that actually made it take off? I mean, I could see where he could do it in one community, but how did he get so many communities involved? The spark was with Peter and that initial board. It actually came from all facets of the diocese. Mm-hmm. So there were representatives from the north end of the diocese, Washington, San Francisco, Oregon, and then Arizona from the south, and Las Vegas. And so all of these people were brought together on this board, and it just kind of sparked. And so they got their youth involved, and it's something that took off because people love to dance. They love to play music. And when it's a competition, that's important. When it's a competition and it's healthy, it's a lot of fun. Tell me about the competition aspect, how you felt about going there and...
Well, we always had nerves. I mean, there was one year in the early times, I think it was the 4th time that we had gone to FDF, Nikos Savidis had come as a judge, and he looked like this fresh off the boat Greek with this big mustache and long hair, kind of like Justin looks right now, with a big round black hat pulled down over his face, and he had on these skinny bell-bottom pants, and he just looked the part. And so we were dancing this dance called sirtaki, or Zorba's dance, as a compulsory. At that time, they had compulsory dances. Every group had to dance 3 dances, which were compulsories. And so the third dance for us was Zorba's dance, or sirtaki. And he came out and he put his head down on the floor, and he just wanted to see if we were completely in line and how we were doing our turns. It was how can I say, disconcerting, but we got through it. And
What kind of score did he give you?
oh, he gave us a great score. It was so good that we moved from junior to seniors, and we didn't know why. And we didn't do well in the senior category, but we were so excited that that was enough for us, that we went from
Sure.
from one category all the way. We jumped 2 categories, and that was amazing.
Do you remember what his nickname was?
No,
He told me he had a nickname, Captain Zero.
Captain
He
Zero.
gave so many 0 scores. So I
He
thought
did give 0 scores.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but on that one we got a great score.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I never heard him say he liked it very much. As treasurer of FDF, I'm really interested in the kinds of things you did as treasurer, especially the negotiating with hotels and that sort of thing.
Well, the negotiating with hotels, we kind of left that up with Peter's son, Thanasi. Thanasi actually was the negotiator. He did really well with that when he got into his own. And before Thanasi, Peter and the managing directors at the time would negotiate the hotels. I just made sure that we had enough money to get to the bank, and that we could do what the bishop wanted from time to time, because he would say, "Oh, let's bring this group from Crete. We'll pay for everything." And so we would end up cutting checks to pay for airfare, hotel, and of course you can't just bring a group of kids to dance from Crete and make them sit in a hotel. So wherever we were at, if it was LA, then it would be Disneyland. If it was San Diego, we'd have it would be done first class. So my whole thing was, did we make enough money so that we could pay off the bills? And there were times where we didn't make enough money to pay off the bills, and that's where the generosity of Peter and Lisa, which was untold, but as a treasurer I would see it, would come in. He'd cover the expenses. So
God, that's amazing.
And every time I saw that, it made me want to be more like that and be a part of that and help. And so
do you think, besides the camaraderie of the folk dance, just that experience, how did that affect you going forward in your career, or if it did? Or
it did, actually. It actually propelled me to be from it in my own personal. I'm an aerospace consultant now, but I started out as an electrical engineer, and I made it all the way to the vice president of space programs operations in one company, to have a 20-year career there. And it was by learning from, the mentors that I had at FDF. And specifically Peter, and I don't mean to harp on it, but I mean, he's a master. The way he speaks, the way he carries, and the way he gets you to do something even though you may not want to do it and love to do it. So that was a technique I loved to learn, and I did employ it with my group in my organization, and I went from 9 people in 1994 all the way to 125 people 20 years later. So I grew an office, and I give credit to the mentors that I had with FDF.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
And you said you started the program at St. Sophia?
I did. I helped start that program.
How did you do that? Did you have the priest?
I got the priest buy-in, which was Father Bacchus at the time, and I went and enlisted Ava Angels, who was a good friend that I had met her dad on the FDF board. He was a parent representative, and she was a dance director at Northridge, and I knew she wasn't directing that year, and I said, come on over to St. Sophia. The kids would really, we could really use someone with your skills and experience. And that's how it started. And it bloomed from 1 group to 8. And so now St. Sophia has a thriving dance program, and they come every year.
That's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Are you still involved in that?
Yes. As an observer now. A good observer.
Good.
Yeah,
Great. That's wonderful though, because they do have a thriving program there.
they do.
Wow, that's
They do.
wonderful.
I directed with Lawrence, and we won the Director's Award, and we won a few times gold medals and silver medals, and every single time we won those medals, they were amazing.
So you really like the competition aspect of it.
I do, only because I know that kids kind of move away from things if there isn't something at stake for them in it.
I wanted to go back. I think Jim, your husband, told me this about getting this enormous amount of cash on a Sunday night from FDF, and then what would you do? You kept it in the safe or something?
We did. We had a safe in the office. I'll say it. It was a top secret safe. So I have a top secret security clearance, and I was able to use the safe, and that way, because Monday was always President's Day, and so the money would be locked away, and then Monday morning or Tuesday morning, we'd take the money to the bank. Then I'd have to sign off and give the Social Security number, and it would be deposited.
Gosh. Yeah, because I had that in some notes that there was a safe somewhere, a secret safe is how Jim. I didn't realize it was in your government office or
It is. It was in our government offices. Just top secret safe.
That's amazing.
Top secret stuff went in there. But
That's so much fun.
it was fun. It was fun.
And were both of your parents involved in FDF? Besides your dad being a priest, did he have time to be involved in the organization at all, or?
His involvement was to make sure that his community sent a dance group every year that he was priest. He loved the program, and he loved Peter, and he loved Metropolitan Anthony. They were two peas in a pod, and so he would do anything for his Metropolitan, and he made sure he had dance groups there. More importantly, my father saw the value of Greek dancing keeping the youth in the church. And so he would use it as an excuse to be able to have Bible study before practice. So 20 minutes, he'd sit down, he'd have Bible study with the kids, then they'd have practice, and he loved it. And they loved it, actually. Kids would look forward to it. They would be on time. They wouldn't come late to miss Bible study. They would get there on time to be there for Bible study with Father Anthony. So it was good.
That's a great idea.
Mm-hmm.
To blend those two together. Has any of that changed that you can see? I know you're not maybe as involved, but has any of that balance changed with it being about the church or as a ministry of the church, or is it pretty much still the same?
I don't think it's changed. I think the intent is still there. I think that we have waves of priests that come and go. So some see it as the carrot and the tool that it should be. Some don't see the value in it. But I think that the populace actually sees the value in it, and so it won't ever die away. And the Metropolitan Gerasimos, I think he's realized that it's such a wonderful event, and it is one of his flagship events for the metropolis as well. So
yeah, I can't.
I don't see it going away anytime soon.
I don't either. It seems very vibrant. And do you know a lot of people who've gotten married or had relationships because of FDF?
Sure, absolutely. In fact, Eleni Constantine married Nick Monolelis, and they just had a baby girl, and they've already said that she's going to be an FDF person, dancer. And kids that I directed are now married and having kids, and they're coming to FDF. So.
And why do you think it's important to? It's kind of a broad question, a little hard to answer, but why is it so important as Greeks in America to maintain your Greek heritage in this way? Why? It seems like it's really strong within the Greek community, that this coming together of the different communities that were so separate in California, for example, like we're in New York, there's in Chicago, there are communities of Greeks, but here it took some effort to bring everyone together. For you, why is that important?
Because our culture is so rich, and we have thousands of years of tradition, and I don't think we're going to be going away anytime soon. And even though the euro may be not doing so well in Greece right now, I think Greeks around the world, that's what keeps us together. We're Greek. It's a distinction, our culture, our food, our dance, our love of life. And our dance expresses that love of life.
It does. It really does.
And so I don't think that they would have gotten the Greeks to be able to become Christians if they told them that they couldn't drink and dance and enjoy themselves. so just, I think they would have stayed pagans if they told them they couldn't do all that. They would have been like, yeah, no, we're not.
Dancing's just part of the deal.
It's just part of the deal.
That's awesome.
So
Could you, this is part of the interview because I need it for the documentary. Could you explain the relationship of godparents, people who stand up for you at your marriage, and the Greek names for those?
Sure. In Greek tradition, you have sponsors. Traditionally, when you're married, you have people that stand up for you, a best man and a maid of honor. In Greek, it's the sponsor, and they're called the kumbaro or the kumbara. And those people not only sponsor you for your marriage, they are also responsible to be the godparents of your first child, and maybe a few more. And in the Greek word, it's called synteknos, kumbaro, and synteknos, especially on the island of Crete. That's how they call kumbaro. They call him synteknos, which means co-creator or co-parent. And so so that's what they end up being. You end up being the godparent, and you become related. That act actually makes you related. You're not just standing up there and doing the crowns and taking the wine and exchanging the rings just so that we can take a good picture. You're actually saying, yes, I'm going to commit to you and I'm going to be a part of your life. We're going to be related from this point forward.
That's wonderful. I've never had that really completely explained, and I think it's such a cool thing. Because I'll ask, when I'm talking to people, they'll say how they're related to each other. I'm like, you're not really, but you are.
You are. Spiritually, you're related. And the godparents actually have the responsibility for that child in the church to make sure that they do end up being a good Orthodox Christian, and they do get married in the church, and they do end up having babies and getting them baptized.
Right.
So they have that responsibility with the parents.
I love that. That's very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Did you go to Greece on a scholarship from FDF at all? Did you study over there?
I was able to go to Greece in 1984 on this wonderful excursion called the Oli Mazi tour. And that was the brainchild of FDF. And it was about 50 young adults, including my younger sister came with us, and a good friend of mine from college who wasn't Greek came with us on Oli Mazi. An experience we'll never forget. And we went all over Greece, and we danced and broke bread with people on Crete, which was Metropolitan Anthony's village. We stayed with them. We went to Glendi's together. It was a 30 days of this awesome and amazing tour. We went to ancient sites. We visited archaeological monuments. It was great. We danced with Dora Stratu. We had workshops with Pontic experts. It was amazing. It was amazing.
Do you have video of that, Richard?
I actually do have a video called Oli Mazi, so I will get that to you.
That would be wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you came back, was part of that tour, was it to come back and teach dances you'd learned, or was it more just the other way that you were dancing over there?
No, it was to come back and teach what we had learned. And we did. And I'm happy to say that that was in 84 and 1987, my group won the sweepstakes. So it was wonderful. And that was the first time that Tucson had won the sweepstakes in Division 2, Advanced Juniors. So
That's exciting.
we were excited.
And then did you have to do the program the next year, the entertainment?
And as winners of the sweepstakes for Division 2, we had to come back the following year and actually perform a separate suite and a show to entertain the public for FDF.
Do you remember what you did?
And that year, His Eminence Archbishop Preovolos had come. And so I actually spoke in Greek and we spoke in English, and we did dances from Epirus, which was his home territory, so in Greece. So
I'm sure he loved that.
it was something I'll never forget. And Charlie Kiriakou was our stage manager at the time. So
I talked to Charlie yesterday.
that was fun.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
great. What do you think FDF has meant to people? If you could say one thing that came out of it, that it's really meant to a lot of people commonly.
Lasting relationships. Lasting, meaningful relationships.
Is there anything else like it that you've experienced from other people who are not Greek that you could compare it to?
No, and I'm going to use my husband as an example. He's not Greek. He's, this mutt. And he experienced FDF a few times. Once as a guest of Metropolitan Anthony, and then, as my friend at the time coming to FDF. He thought it was the most amazing thing he'd ever seen. He goes, there's like 2,000 Greek people here. I'm like, yes, there are. He goes, and they're all loving dancing and singing, and I've never seen anything like this. So he was in awe of it, and he thought it was amazing. So
Yeah, I thought it was too, the first time I saw it. As far as this documentary that we're doing, we have some ideas of what we want to talk about. Is there anything you would really like us to bring out, or that you would like to see visually in the documentary besides the interviews?
I think that the way that the management teams came up with their ideas for to individualize each FDF, I'd like to see that, because there was a lot of hard work done with coming up with the logos and the motif and the pins and the t-shirts and the managing of the events. What were they going to do to keep everybody entertained? Because it wasn't just coming to do a competition. It was also keeping 2,000 people entertained for 4 days, on downtimes. What are the kids going to do? Are we going to do a carnival, an ice cream social? They came up with some wonderful ideas of how to use space and how to keep everybody engaged and on point and entertained. So
I did see some pictures. Peter has these posters of montages from FDFs, and there was one where there was a jail and kids are behind bars and clowns. I'm like, what the heck? But that was part of the event, I guess, right?
I think it was part of the carnival.
Okay.
And I think they may have had a monetary aspect to that one,
Oh, get out of jail fines and stuff?
or go, I'm going to pay $50 to get that person in jail, or $25 to see that person get a pie in the face. I mean, they came up with some great ideas.
Yeah.
And it was at least 35 years worth of amazing things. And what always amazed me is that we could have a 14-year-old actually running the lunchroom, or, and being responsible for getting, 1,500 people fed between the hours of 11 and 2. And most importantly, keeping track of silverware and counting of plates so that we wouldn't get overcharged or undercharged. I mean, so there was a lot of mentoring, and the finished product was a management team that put on a great event.
Yeah, that part of it amazes me.
Every single time. I don't think we ever had one event that didn't go off without a hitch. It was great.
Were you there for the big flood?
Yes. And they came up with, well, we're just gonna move things out. It'll be fine. We'll make tents. We'll put the tents over here.
It's just always the show must go on.
The show must go on.
I think that's wonderful.
It's awesome. So yeah,
As
I would
far
love to see that.
Do they still the management team is sort of older now, right?
I believe that the management team has veered away from using young adults, and I believe it's the same set of people now that actually do the event.
Mm-hmm.
We've lost that training tool.
Mm-hmm. But things change.
But things change. It evolves.
Yeah.
The important thing is they have done some new aspects and tweaked some things, and everything's been for the positive.
Do you is there anything besides the annual FDF event that gets FDF alumni together? I haven't heard of anything, but
No, but I'd love to see one happen, because that would be great. I would be there.
yeah, I have never asked that question or even thought of that, but
I threw out an idea to a few of the people that had gone to Oli Mazi in 1984 that 2014 was the 30th anniversary of Oli Mazi, and it would have been nice to get, half of us all together for drinks and dinner.
yeah, maybe someday.
Someday.
We can.
We'll be too old, but
No,
we're still going to get out there and dance. Yeah.
that's what Greeks do. I'm convinced that's why they're in such good shape.
Because we dance.
Just keep dancing. Do you dance now? Do you go to?
I try to. I should dance more, though. I like eating my olive oil and bread a little too much. So
We all do. I get that. Is there anything you would like to say that you've thought of, or a point you'd like to make for the documentary for yourself? Or?
I just want to say thank you. Thank you to Peter. Thank you to the Metropolitan Anthony, and for the wonderful experience that I had. Experiences. And my niece and nephew are now going to be able to enjoy them as well. It's a legacy. I don't think I've ever seen anything go on for more than 10, 15, 20 years. And this thing is still going strong, and we're at like number 38.
I think it's 40.
40.
Next year.
40 next year.
2016.
Is 40 next year. So still going strong. So thank you. It's been wonderful. I can't wait for my niece and nephew to experience it. And then I get to be the proud aunt watching them dance and saying, oh, look at them. They're so cute. Yeah.
You ever thought about being a judge?
I'd love to be a judge, but I think that's kind of set right now.
Oh, okay.
So
I didn't know how they.
I don't know how they do it either, how they appoint them. So
Okay. I wanted to ask about your costume library at St. Sophia. Have
We
you
have-
been involved in that?
I have with the initial costumes, and up until 2 years ago, made sure that they were all in a good place. So Bertha Angels, who's my kubata, actually helped make a lot of those costumes, and Eleni has kept up the library. So you're welcome to come up and take pictures of the costumes, videotape them.
That would be
We have a big library of costumes, and they're intricate and detailed, from Sarakatsana to one of the island costumes, which is Skiathos, that I think has fur on it. I mean, it's pretty amazing, all hand done, and the dancers themselves actually learned how to do the embroidery on many of the costumes that you'll see. So it wasn't just done by mothers, or we didn't hire them out. A lot of the costumes that we had were actually hand done
That's so
by
cool
the dancers themselves.
that the dancers are learning that too.
Mm-hmm.
It just perpetuates it. Yeah, because I was really I didn't know about that.
In fact, two of the northern costumes that we have. One is from Macedonia, and the other is from Thessaly. Those, the lace that I told you that was initially spray painted, we ended up actually getting the lace work done. And so the girls actually learned how to do the lace work and actually handmade the lace work so that we replaced the painted lace with actual
Do you
original
still have
lace.
the old painted lace ones?
I don't know if there's still a painted lace one, but
That'd be fun. If
but
there
we have
was.
pictures of it, so we could put them up side by side for you to see.
That would be fun. I'd love to see that.
Mm-hmm.